Hey. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be able to share more about affirmations with you. I know a number of you that are on this screen already that are Heal Your Life teachers, and some that are new to me. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Patricia Crane. I love affirmations. They've really worked wonders in my life. So I'm pretty excited about sharing with you what you can do with them. I'm also going to ask that on the chat, go ahead and put in your name, or just go onto the chat to everyone and put in your location and whether you're very familiar with affirmations, you're just learning them, or you're like, I don't even know how I showed up here today, but here I am. Okay. So go ahead and put in your location on the chat, which will be fun to watch. Scotland. All right. Phoenix. Derbyshire. Lake Arrowhead. My friend Deborah. Hi, Deborah. Great. Okay. Denmark. Oh, fabulous. London. Temecula. Okay, Christy, I know you're
for everybody else.
North Wales. Ethiopia. Agar. Mexico. All right. What a wonderful international group we have here. This is fabulous. Okay.
I can't seem to do that. I don't see myself.
Who's that?
Casey.
Casey?
Casey, yeah. I don't see my name. I don't see my picture. I'm on a little, it's not on a computer. It's on my cell phone. That's all I have.
I do see you though, Casey.
Oh,
Casey,
you do? Good. Okay.
Yes, I can see you.
You probably have it on speaker view, and that's okay. Whether you want to, but that's probably why you probably have it on speaker view.
La Quinta? Okay.
So speaker, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. It's okay. Okay. Here's
Casey, I think it automatically does that if you're on a smaller screen.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think you can just leave it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Christy, who is also speaking, a number of you know her, but Christy is our amazing admin that keeps me sane. And she's going to be co-host today and do some work on the chat and answer people, etc. So we are thrilled to have her on here as well. Just a couple of logistics. And the first one is, would you please mute yourself if you aren't already? If you can figure that out, Casey. So
it all. That's okay. I got it all. Oh.
There we go. Okay, there we go. So mute yourself except for us. And then if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand. There's a little icon down at the bottom to raise your hand. I will ask you that if somebody puts a question in the chat, that you not answer it in there so that we can keep it all in the recording and on the screen. And when people are sharing, please listen. We believe that the perfect group is always brought together. And so you're each going to be learning from each other today, besides me sharing my knowledge about affirmations. And so we really ask you that you listen. And I will be sending a recording to this group. So don't be concerned about writing down some of the affirmations that I'm going to talk about and things like that. That will be sent out to you afterwards. Okay, so let's just get started with a little centering. So if I will ask you to just close your eyes and get comfortable. And then just imagine that you're breathing in relaxation. Breathing out any stress. I know for some of you, it's much later in the day. For some of you, it's your morning. Just allow your body to relax. especially your neck and shoulders and back, where we hold so much tension, trying to carry all the world on our shoulders. Let go of any concerns and just allow your mind and your heart to be open and receptive. If you're on this meeting because there's something very specific that you need at this time in your life, just know that you will get some information to help you with whatever that is. And then just take another few easy breaths. And then go ahead and open your eyes. And I want to give you a little background about how I found out about affirmations. I actually was an anxious mess in my late 20s, and it was a combination of my own perfectionist needs and also where I was working that was very stressful. And Christy, you can let a couple more people in. And a dear friend of mine who could see how anxious and stressed I was suggested that I start meditation. And so I began a meditation practice very, very diligently. And I was amazed at what results I was getting. And after a time, I began to notice that I would think things and they would happen. And it got to the point where it was like, I have to find out how this is happening. And so I began my spiritual search, my personal growth search to find out. And what I began to find out, of course, is about affirmations and how that energy is connecting us out into the universal presence and creating things that we think about. Now, if you think about your thoughts, and we're going to go through that in a little while, there are positive affirmations, but there are also negative ones because we tend to have a lot of negative thoughts. Does anybody have negative thoughts in this group? Just raise your hand. Yep. Oh, good. Okay, you're at the right place. Just great. And I really became a very voracious reader and a workshop junkie. And I began using affirmations very effectively to make changes in my life. And of course, ultimately, I met the amazing Louise Hay, who has been called the Queen of Affirmations. And while I was already using them effectively, she taught me more about how being specific helped, really specific, and also about inner child work and other techniques, mirror work, for example, that, she really uses as a foundation of her own work. So it was really an amazing partnership. Many of you on this, meeting are Heal Your Life teachers. And so you know all about that work and how powerful it is. I've got a PowerPoint I want to show you with my 8 principles for ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen. And I first heard that phrase in a workshop that I was taking in the same philosophy that Louise learned. She learned it on the East Coast in New York, and I learned it in California in Huntington Beach. But I first heard that phrase and I thought, how fun, ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen, because sometimes we get too serious with our affirmations. There's something going on in our lives that we want to change, and we get very focused on it and very serious. And that's actually not the best energy to put out there. And so I felt like that was a really fun phrase that, just helped me feel like it could be a fun journey as well. And that ended up being the title of my book. One thing I want to say before we start on the PowerPoint, though, is affirmations are not intended to control everything, because we can't, right? And most of you already know that what we can do is control our own reactions to things that happen. But what happens in affirmations is that you're actually aligning your energy with the power and presence of the universe, whether you want to call that spirit or God or divine wisdom, whatever you want to call it. It aligns you with that energy. And when that energy is aligned, that affirmation is in that energy and brings it back to you at what we consider the right time, which isn't always as fast as we want it to be, but it comes back at the right time. So I am going to go on to showing you a PowerPoint and then give you some wonderful examples of how they work as well. Right. So ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen, principles 1 through 8. And the first one is you need to decide what you want. Now, that's not always easy because sometimes there's conflicting kinds of things that you're concerned about. You're not always sure exactly what you want. And so if you're not sure, I have an affirmation for you. And it is, I now have clarity about what I want. But the first thing is to write down and decide what is it that you're wanting to create in your life. The second principle is Cosmic Kitchen affirmations. Orders are personal, positive, and present tense. And so we don't use the words no or not in them, or words even like limitations. And you will see some of the ones from Louise that have those, but I usually do my best to change them so that you're really giving your consciousness exactly what it is that you're putting out. Now, the personal part is very important because most of us would like to change other people to some extent, wouldn't we? And yet it's really all comes back to what we need to do. And so my example sometimes is for parents. I don't know how many of you on this are parents. I can't see everybody right now, but I'm sure you want the best for your children, right? You want the best for them. And so sometimes you would certainly like to do affirmations for them, but you can't. They have to have their own. And what you can do is saying something like, I am guided to help my children in the best way possible. So you're still bringing it back to yourself. And then the present tense, you say it as though it's already happened. And I've had some people in classes going, well, I can't think about it as though it's already happened. It just seems weird to put it as though it's now when it hasn't. But what you're doing is, if you can imagine a compass on a ship, and you're changing the direction by changing the compass, right? And so by claiming it for the present tense, then you are just creating that moment by moment toward what it is that you actually want. So they're positive, personal, and present tense. Third one, include words that are not only convey positive, but are energetic feelings, like I have joy in life. Really doesn't help, does it? It doesn't sound like you have joy. And so you want to use words like it's fabulous, it's incredible, I love it, it's fantastic, I'm enthusiastic, I'm so thrilled, to really put that energy into your affirmations. Again, feeling it, because even though the affirmations are on the mental level, really the feeling part is so important. And the law of attraction talks about that a lot too, doesn't it? That feeling aspect is so important. Principle number 4. Now, this one is a tough one for a lot of people. Trusting the timing of your delivery. And what we often want to do is we do an affirmation, and then some people, in fact, recommend that you set a time frame. I generally don't, because I think you just need to leave it up to the universe, the Cosmic Kitchen, to really deliver what it is that you want at the right time. So trusting the timing of your delivery and just trusting that it's coming at exactly the right time. Principle number 5 is very similar, actually. Let the cosmic chef decide how you receive your order. If you start outlining, if you start trying to figure out how your affirmation is going to come about, then you're outlining and you're trying to control it. And so you want to let go of that. And my example often is that when I was working as an administrator and decided I really didn't want to be doing that anymore, I wanted to be teaching. I was really excited to be teaching instead of organizing all these other people to teach classes for the program that I was, organizing at the time. And if I had thought about it, I probably wouldn't have gone to the college that I went to, the university, actually, Cal State Fullerton, because I thought that I could probably only teach at a community college or in some other setting. And yet that's what the universe had for me. I got contacted from someone I'd never met, never even heard of. And he said, oh, I heard from somebody that you're into holistic health. Now, that's not really how I would have described myself at the time, but he said, I'm going on sabbatical and I need somebody to teach my stress management class. Would you be interested? Well, yes, I would absolutely be interested. And that was very exciting because it included all of the things that I had had in my set of affirmations to create that. So you really need to let the Cosmic Chef decide what's the best way for whatever it is that you're wanting to come to you, because if you try to figure it out, you may be limiting yourself. Principle number 6, allow your inner wisdom to guide you in the right balance between action and allowing. You know, action is more of the masculine principle, allowing is more of the feminine principle. And when you get in touch with your inner wisdom, you could do it by meditating, going out in nature, just doing something that helps you feel really connected with that greater energy. And then when you're doing your affirmations, you know, you'll be guided if there is any action you need to take, but you'll also just be putting out that energy and waiting for the affirmation to come back to you in whatever form it's supposed to. And principle number 7, believe that you deserve to have a wonderful life. Now, we actually could have that as number 1, couldn't we? You know, because most of us didn't grow up believing that we really did deserve to have a wonderful life. And this is also a big piece of Louise Hay's philosophy in loving yourself. Deservability and loving yourself is certainly very connected. And so you want to be able to know that you really deserve to have a wonderful life, really believe that. And then the final principle is you want to feel gratitude to the universe, the Cosmic Chef, for fulfilling your order in the most miraculous way. And I'm sure we have some examples with the group that's on here, especially among our Heal Your Life teachers, that you've had some pretty amazing things happen for you with using affirmations and Louise's work. So just for this moment, I'm going to ask all of you to just stop right now, close your eyes, put your hands on your heart. And what is it you're feeling gratitude for right now? What are you feeling gratitude for right this moment? I'm certainly grateful for all of you signing up for this meeting and being interested in doing more with affirmations in your life. There's so much to feel grateful for. So much. So many of you probably already have a gratitude practice, and that is absolutely wonderful. Okay, so you can open your eyes again. And then we're going to talk a lot about this today and do some exercises with it, but awareness is really the key, because so much, like the iceberg, is underneath the conscious mind, and all these old beliefs from childhood are lurking in that unconscious mind, creating things in your life. And so awareness is an absolute foundation for doing powerful affirmations and really understanding, where did some of this come from that's maybe running your life right now, and what would you like to change? Okay, I'm going to stop the share for right now. Come back to everybody. Okay, let me ask and say, do you have any questions so far? If you do, you can just raise your hand. There's a little icon down at the bottom. You can raise your hand. You can put a question on the chat. Any questions so far? Okay. Okay, I want to give you a couple of examples too. And one of them, and it has nothing to do with conscious affirmations, but this is a story I read a number of years ago. So impressive. And let me ask all of you this. Have you ever thought of somebody, even before you knew anything about affirmations, have you ever thought about someone that you haven't seen for a while and wonder, how is so-and-so doing? You know, how's that person doing? And they show up in the grocery store or all of a sudden call you. Have any of you had that happen? Yeah, just about everybody. Okay, and that's an example of an affirmation. And it can happen quickly because there's no resistance. Okay, this is an important point. There's no resistance, because often with affirmations, when you're actually doing them, there's also in your mind somewhere a little bit, oh, is this really going to happen? Or there might be a little bit of fear going on because of finances or other kinds of issues or relationship issue. But those are really great little examples that you can have that says, hey, there is this cosmic energy that I'm connected to, and it really connected me to this person I've just been thinking about, right? So one of the stories I read a number of years ago, which really just brought home how powerful desire can be, because part of it is the desire in your own heart, okay? There was a woman in Florida who, for whatever reasons, her mother had to give her up and she was adopted. And she had wonderful adoptive parents, which is great. When she got into her teens, late teens, she discovered that actually she was a twin. And her twin brother had also been given up for adoption to a different family. Now, all the records were sealed. She tried to find out who her brother was, who had adopted him, could not find out at all. But she had this really strong desire that she really wanted to know and meet her twin brother. Some years went by. She went to an art school in New York somewhere, and then ultimately she moved out to San Francisco. And one day when she was in San Francisco, a friend of hers called a guy and said, how about if we go out to dinner, and I've got another friend visiting me and we'll all go out to dinner together. And she said, okay. So they went out to dinner, and she begins talking to this one guy that she had never met and said, oh, he was born in Florida. He was adopted. He went to an art school, the same one in New York, and somehow ended up in San Francisco. I still get chills thinking of this. It was her brother. And so even though everything was sealed, there was no way for her to find out anything. That desire in her heart was so strong that the universe brought them together. So it's really important for you to really pay attention to, what are the strong desires in my heart, or the strong fears, whatever they might be, and really pay attention and really have that awareness. So what I'd like to do now is take you through a short exercise, and I'm going to ask you to just again get comfortable, close your eyes. You don't need to put your hands on your heart, just relax, close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you to go through a typical day in your mind, just the thoughts that you have. As you get up in the morning, what kinds of thoughts are you having about the day? What might be going on, where you have to go, who you might have to meet. And there's no judgment or anything here. It's just information. It's just observing. Just notice. What are you thinking? And then as you're getting ready for work or whatever other activities you might be having, again, just notice as you're getting ready, maybe looking in the mirror, what kinds of thoughts are you having? What are your expectations for the day? And then as you arrive either at work where you might be or other activities, the people that you're meeting, what are your thoughts about them? How are you feeling? And as you go out to lunch, how are you feeling about the food that you eat? The thoughts about how it will affect your body. Continuing through the rest of your day, again, just really paying attention to some of those automatic thoughts that you have. Continuing through your dinner time, just as though you're an observer of your own mind. What's happening with your own mind? What are you observing? What's it saying? And in the evening, whether you live alone or with partner, with children, again, just paying attention. What's happening? And then as you're getting ready to go to bed, go to sleep, What kinds of thoughts are you having then? Okay, take a nice breath and just open your eyes. And how many of you noticed there's some places where you could change your thoughts? As much work as you might have done along the way, right? So that awareness is during the day as well, because you need to catch those thoughts to change them. Because if you're doing your affirmations in the morning and then having fears and negative thoughts during the day, you're negating things, right? So you want to have those consistency as much as possible. And I remember talking to Louise about this, and she said, and this was later in her life, and here she is, the queen of affirmations. And she said, well, I'm about 75% at positive thoughts during the day. So even she was recognizing that there were some places that she could still change her thoughts, right? And I think about it as your mind going down an automatic train track. And so it does it over and over and over and over again. Now, when you start doing your affirmations, what you're doing is you're actually starting to create a new train track. And I did read some research where they talked about how you actually create new synapses in your brain when you're doing affirmations. And so that's why in the beginning, it's so important for you to really be aware that you're consistent with them, that you're thinking them, so that you get that new synapse going in your brain, or several of them, to really be able to make it easier and easier as time goes on. Now, I see that Victoria Lindsay has a hand up. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, that'd be great. Yes, no?
Oh, Patricia?
Yes.
It's an error. I'm trying to click the lower hand and it won't go back down.
Oh, there
Okay,
it goes.
but I apologize.
No problem. No problem. We're
Thank
all
you.
learning this technology, right?
Right.
Technology is my friend. Okay. Any of you having trouble with technology, to say technology is my friend. I easily use it effectively. Okay. Okay. So here's the thing, is not only with the thoughts during the day, those you can catch and you can begin to change those, but that whole area of awareness and really understanding what it is that's in that unconscious mind is so, so important. How many of you have had something happen that you wondered, how did that happen? How did I create that? Right? Yeah. And so if you start looking back and really understanding it, then you can. And I'll give you an example. And this one is in my book. Many years ago, when I was going to college in a very cold area near Chicago. And every year, Mom would take me shopping during the end of the summer, and I would have my clothes for the next year. And this one year, I found the most beautiful coat I had ever seen, and it was actually right at the top of the budget for everything, because she always had a budget, of how much we could spend. But I just absolutely fell in love with this coat, and my mom looked at me and just saw my face and said, "Okay, all right, we'll go over the budget this year." So I get all my clothes together. I get everything. Not everything was fitting in my suitcase. And so I had my raincoat and this gorgeous new coat on my arm. I flew from New Jersey to Chicago, got out, met a couple of friends who were coming in at the same time, and we got our taxi together. And I put both of those coats up in the back of the taxi, right? So we get to our dorm, we get out, take our luggage upstairs. We get upstairs, and I went, I left my coats in the taxi. Oh my God. And of course, the taxi's already gone. So I started calling taxi companies and saying, did anybody turn in some coats? Did anybody? Well, of course they didn't. The taxi driver was probably like, oh, great. These are some beautiful new coats, and it's getting cold here in Chicago. So I've got a family that could use them. So I was absolutely devastated. I felt guilty. I never told my mother I lost that coat before I even wore it, because I felt so bad that she had spent all this money and then I lost the coat. So what happens years later, I'm learning all this personal growth work and about the unconscious mind. And what I realized is that in our family growing up, the story was about prosperity, You can have nice things, but not what you really want, because what you really want is too expensive. So you might get a nice couch, but it's not really the one you really wanted. You could have some nice clothes, but not what you really wanted. And this coat was what I really wanted. So that coat did not match the unconscious belief, right? And they clashed, and I lost the coat before I even wore it. And I could cite you a lot of other examples that I really realized as I was going along in my own journey of personal growth. And so it's really important to look at some of the things that have happened in your life and say, okay, what kind of belief was I having at that time? Maybe I got it in childhood. Most of them are there, right? And what kind of belief did I have that created that in my life? And what would I like to change? So for myself, I started doing affirmations that said, I deserve to have exactly what I want, and I claim it. Now, it didn't mean it was always the most expensive either. When I first got a condo, I bought some carpet that I really wanted, and it wasn't the most expensive. So that wasn't the actual point. The point of it was to really look at, what did I really want? And I could claim it and know that I deserved it. And there were lots of other unconscious beliefs in there about my own self-esteem. And I'm sure many of you can really relate to that as well. So I'm going to stop again and just say, is there a question you'd like to ask, or even a story you wanted to share about how you overcame some old belief that was in the unconscious mind and changed that? This can be interactive, you know. Okay. Cassandra.
Yes, hi Patricia.
Hi.
Yes, actually, while you were telling that story, it made me go back to two stories about my own experience, relating to buying new things that were very expensive. Well, they were very expensive in my mind. So the only times that I dared, so to speak, to buy them, I mean, they got stolen like the very next day. So
Okay.
then, while you were saying your story, it made me think that that's been in my mind for a long time, like I'll get too excited about buying brand new things, because they're gonna go away like quickly. So that actually happened.
So what affirmation would you like to have now?
I do not know exactly how I would word it, but I think that it has to do with safety. Because in my mind, it's not so much about me not being able to get them, or of expensive things being something bad. It's more related to my own sense of being safe. I don't know.
So how about, it is safe for me to buy what I want and know that I deserve it, and know that I can keep it.
I know that I can keep it.
And know that I can keep it. It's okay for me to keep the beautiful things that I purchase.
Yes. Yes.
How does that feel?
Yes, that feels way better.
I can hear this. I can hear the relief in your voice, because I can't see you. We can't see you. Okay. So when the affirmation feels right, it really does feel good, doesn't it? So, and there's a relief there. So you have to work with also, what's the feeling of it? Okay, Sandy. Yep, you will.
Thank you, Patricia. I have that. I have periods where I go through. This may cost too much, or I may not be, or it may be a little bit extravagant or excessive to do it. I'll get it anyway. And when I push through it, it always, almost always works out. And it usually falls together better than I could have ever imagined that it would. But it's that little threshold, just doing it. that I would like to reduce the number of times that comes up. I would like to fix that little hurdle
Okay, great.
so I don't have to go over that bump.
Okay. Well, now what I would recommend for this that you're talking about is that you use mirror work. And you go to the mirror and you acknowledge that you have this little bit of anxiety, and you just talk to yourself. You say, okay, Sandy, I'm acknowledging that you have this bit of anxiety and some fear about going for this, whatever, that you want. And I'd like to remind you of how things have worked out in the past when you've done that. You've actually been able to create things very effectively. But I think for you, connecting with yourself in the mirror will really help that, because you acknowledge the fear and the anxiety, and you remind yourself of how things have worked out in the past, and then tune in to that inner wisdom and say, okay, let me just check in with myself and, say, okay, releasing the anxiety, releasing the fear. Do I want to go for this? Is this okay? You can meditate on it. You can ask for a sign, whatever it is that you want to do. Does that feel good?
It does feel good, because what I was trying to do that was in error to what you just described is that I was trying to say, I really shouldn't feel this way. Why do I feel? So I've been trying to push the fear down instead of move through it and
Right.
and process it, so it probably may not come up again.
Yeah. So, and you're bringing up a really good point, Sandy, and that is that we don't want to deny our feelings of anxiety or fear or guilt or whatever it is, but it's just better to be able to acknowledge them, and then you can release them, in whatever way feels right to you. Anger is one that, especially for spiritual people, that one is a tough one, because we read, oh, you're not supposed to be angry. And of course, Louise says, don't use the word should, use the word could instead of should. And one of the things, again, Louise told me one time, she says, I beat on the bed once a week, whether I need it or not, just to know if anything's going to come out, right? Because sometimes we've got those suppressed feelings and we don't really even know that they're there. And so that's another whole piece of personal growth, is just getting aware of those feelings and saying, okay, I'm not going to push them down. I want to acknowledge them. And the mirror work is really, really helpful for that, to really just be connecting with yourself. And then doing your affirmations, asking for help if you need it to release the work the things that are going on, and then just continuing on, but not to negate the feelings, because pushing them down doesn't work. They just will come up stronger in some other way, right? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions right now? Okay. So consistency, really important. Now, another thing is, I talked about, or said in one of the emails I send out, and we'll talk about some of the mistakes that people make. One of them I already mentioned, and that's trying to affirm for someone else when it needs to be for yourself. Another one is trying to control things. Another one is trying to outline. But there's another one also, and it's either being too specific or not specific enough when you're actually writing your affirmation. So let me give you some examples about that. One of my friends was needing a new job, and so she was doing wonderful affirmations about getting interviews for jobs, and she didn't get a job. So I'd asked her, well, what affirmation are you doing? And she said, well, I'm affirming for interviews, and I do great in the interviews, then I don't get the job. And I said, well, how about if you do an affirmation that says, I have great interviews and I get a great job from one of them? So, it was like she wasn't being specific enough in terms of what she wanted the outcome to be. So you want to start with, what's the outcome that I want here? And then add in the affirmation. And I usually do several affirmations, not just one. And so when I was wanting to have a job teaching instead of being an administrator, I said that I was making as much money at the new job as I was getting there. It was an easy commute. I was using my skills and talents. So all of that goes into the affirmation. And another thing that people often will do is something challenging in your life comes up, right? You've got an issue around relationship, or a relationship, or many, or at work, or whatever, or you've got a prosperity issue or a health issue. And then you focus completely all your affirmations on that area of your life. And what we do in the Heal Your Life training is you actually write a new story. And many of you have written your new story. You write a new story about your life, and then you include all of those areas: loving yourself, health, relationships, prosperity, career, so that you're looking at more of the totality of your life. You can include your fun things that you do, your playtime as well, so that, again, you're ordering from the cosmic kitchen and making it fun. Making it fun, not having such a serious attitude about it that it becomes actually an underlying level of fear that then prevents what it is that you want to create. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here for a few minutes, and then I'm going to ask each of you to actually write a couple of affirmations for yourself today. And we'll share those. So here are just a couple of things that I love in a lot of affirmations. The first one is, it's easy. Too often people will say, oh, well, it's so hard. My clients would come in when I had an active client base and say, oh, it's so hard to. Well, yeah, if you say it's so hard to, it will be. So it's easy to. The other one I like is, I am guided. So you're really acknowledging that inner wisdom that you have within yourself to be guided to whatever your need. I'm going to give you a few examples as we go on. And then any resource I need for whatever it is, that's another one of my favorites that you can start out with. So for example, it is easy for me to nourish my mind with positive and enthusiastic thoughts. It's easy for me to choose yummy foods. It's easy for me to nourish my relationships with love and appreciation. It's easy for me to attract prosperity into my life. Okay, so use the words, it is easy, especially if you've been saying something's hard. Just change it to, no, it's not hard, it's easy. And this one is, any resource I need for my healing on any level comes to me quickly and easily and quickly. And this is one of my favorites because you can adapt it to any issue that's in your life. I am guided to any resource I need. Any resource I need comes into my area easily and quickly. Anything I need for my healing on any level, my relationships, my prosperity, my health, my career, my loving yourself. So that for me has been an absolutely foundational affirmation that I use for all kinds of things. But I always affirm that it comes to me easily and quickly. And the resource can be anything. I mean, on the physical level, it could be even a medical doctor, or a nurse practitioner, an alternative health practitioner, a Reiki practitioner. On the relationship issue, it could be some book that comes to you. It can be anything. It can be a book, a person. I've even had billboards talk to me and license plates. One time I saw a license plate saying, be light, when I was dwelling on something that was bothering me. It just made me laugh. And I said, okay, universe, thank you so much. I really needed that little sign. So if there is a health concern, I am guided to anyone let me move this. Or help I need for my complete health and well-being. If there is a relationship issue, I am guided to any resource I need for resolution. So you can see the idea with these is just being able to use some of those key words in your affirmations will really help you, especially in some of them. Okay. And we're going to come back to prosperity in just a little while because that is such a big one for everybody. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is ask you, I didn't think to have you get a journal and pen, but I think most of you probably have something like that there. So I'm going to ask you to just take a few minutes to write a couple of affirmations for yourself for right now, and then I'll ask some people to share them. Okay, so just take a few minutes. Okay, looks like a lot of you have finished. So who would like to share one or both of their affirmations?
Patricia, I will.
Yes. Who's that?
It's Lisa.
Lisa. Okay, go ahead.
So I made my affirmation, my life is fulfilling as it is.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Because sometimes, or I often feel that I'm not productive enough
Mhm.
and that I get easily overwhelmed. And at the end of the day, I look back and I'm disappointed that I haven't achieved as much as I think I could or should. So,
Good. Good is a good word.
so
Okay.
I guess, and my second one, it's easy and good to be me. So maybe, we all have our challenges, and maybe if I do get overwhelmed quite easily, it's harder for me to accomplish more things, and it's okay.
Okay. So a couple of others I might suggest if you don't mind.
No, that's great.
I'm always doing the best I can. I'm always doing the best I can. And each day I'm guided to what's most important.
That's awesome.
And I am willing to love myself at the end of each day. Okay. It's okay to be.
Yeah.
And I'm worthwhile just because I exist. It's tempting to say, my worth does not depend on what I do, but then you've got a not in there.
Uh-huh.
So my worth is just because I exist.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And from Annalise, we have in the chat, I have a wonderful career as a Heal Your Life workshop leader. It's easy for me and I'm earning more than I ever have before. And so it is. So the other thing is we're doing these affirmations is you can really just feel in your heart that support for everyone that's on this call, and especially for the person who might be speaking or writing their affirmation at the time, because that's part of our energy, isn't it? Right? It's part of our energy is just the energy of other people around us. And what we say in the Heal Your Life work at the end of the affirmations on the 2-day workshop is we all say, I support you, right? I support you. Remember that? So I know you're all muted, but you can still say it and the energy is still there. I support you. I support you. Okay. I have time to do everything I need to do today. Okay, Mark, absolutely. Whatever's important gets done. Okay, good. And if something doesn't, you just say to yourself at the end of the day, I love myself. I did the best I could today. I know the other day, Rick and I had several things that we needed to get done. We had to send out some bios and some photos to some people and things like that. And just all these other things just kept cropping up in the middle of the day that were distracting us. And we both had to stop and take a deep breath and say, it's okay. Everything will get done in exactly the right time frame and order. Okay. Okay, Ashley, I am worthy of success. Absolutely. We support you. It is easy for me to nourish my body with good, nutritious foods it needs. Louise, absolutely. We support you. I trust life and life trusts me. Agar, absolutely. We support you. I am guided towards good outcomes in all my endeavors. Casey Craig, we support you. Wonderful. Okay. And see how easy it is once you take just a few minutes to stop and really think about what it is that you want. You can really put it into words, can't you? Into those feelings as well. Yes. Okay. Anybody want to ask another question before I go on? Or help with an affirmation? Okay. Yes.
I want help. I was trying to put it in the chat so you could see what I had.
Okay. And what is that? Okay, you're muted, Sandy. Let's see. Oh, Sandy,
Clarity.
I'm ecstatic. Oh, that's nice. I am ecstatic about this. Yeah, see, there's that energy word. I am ecstatic about this period of transition and growth in my life. I think that I am worthwhile because I exist. Yes.
So something was lost there. Each day I am guided to what's more important,
Oh, okay.
and the resources and means to accomplish them are revealed. I don't know.
Okay. No, that's good. We support you. Okay. Okay. And Julie says, my body feels good and I radiate good feelings. And I deserve fun in my life and I claim it now. Okay. Okay. I also want to express just a little gratitude right now. First of all, to Christy, because she is so amazing as our main admin and everything that she does. But also on here, we have Rachel Smith, who has been doing all of our social media. And Rachel, I am so grateful for you. And you do such a fabulous job with all the posts that you do with Louise's affirmation. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's great. Okay, and Deborah, who's a very new friend here in Lake Arrowhead. I'm so thrilled to meet her and her husband, and they're very focused. They have Love Makers Foundation and really focused on spreading love and light, which is certainly what we do with our work in Louise's work as well. It is easy to welcome an abundance of joy, love, and money into my life. I am guided to do and be my best. Any resources I need are supplied in perfect timing. And so it is. We support you. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go back to the chat and we'll have some more time to do either more affirmations like this. Oh, here's Bethany. It's easy for me to now have an amazing hairstylist who trims my hair with style, flair, and fun, is available in location and a time. And how about a price that works for me and Frosty? And Frosty is her wonderful dog. So, hey, I can do that one too with hairdresser. Absolutely. That's fabulous. So, do affirmations. This is a fun one, right? That's really a fun one. So you can do affirmations for anything. It can be the little things and the big things, and it's great. Okay, I put a slide up for prosperity specifically because that is such a big issue for people. When Rick and I have done a number of, not necessarily the Heal Your Life trainings that we do, but we've done a lot of other kinds of workshops that, are about personal growth and achieving your dreams and things like that. And we ask people to, on a 3x5 index card, anonymously write down what are their top issues. And the top issue is always prosperity, always. Mm-hmm. And then the second one is usually relationships. Third one is usually career, which is pretty much connected with prosperity for most people. And the fourth one is health, because until your health is a problem, you're not particularly concerned about it. Unfortunately, I think it's a good thing to just be, really affirming for good health and following good health practices before that. But prosperity is really, one that gets to people. And I know Louise says in one of her videos, she said it was easier for her to teach a workshop on sexuality than it was on prosperity, because people seem to have such stuck ideas about prosperity, right? And they think, oh, I'm on a limited income, or nothing I do, or it goes out, like Cassandra was talking about, I buy something good and it goes out, I can't keep it, So it's really important to also address the prosperity and abundance, abundance in everything. It's not just money and material things. It's really abundance in love, joy, etc. as well. But I do have some affirmations that I decided I'm just going to read these to you that are from my Cosmic Kitchen book, and also they're on my website. And after this meeting, I'm going to send out another email to all of you, and you can just go on my website and you can download dozens of affirmations in every area. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes, take a nice deep breath. And if prosperity per se is not one of your issues, you can just, substitute something else in there if you'd like. Okay. I embrace positive new beliefs about prosperity. I daily express gratitude for all the money I have now. I am willing to master the energy of money. It's easy for me to manage my money wisely. Unexpected income is always coming my way. All of my needs are met by the universal abundance of spirit. I now have fun learning to manage money. I am a money magnet. I now know it's okay to be nice and rich. I enjoy sharing my money with worthy causes. I always have enough money to pay my bills ahead of time. I choose to embrace thoughts of abundance that nurture and support me. I am confident that I earn a wonderful living doing work that I love. I believe that money is my friend and I deserve it in abundance. And so it is. So go ahead and take a deep breath. Open your eyes. And you can see on the screen this overriding affirmation that is just so good for everything. I am abundant in love, joy, health, happiness, and money. I am. The words I am are very powerful. So using those in a lot of your affirmations is also really excellent. I am abundant in love, joy, health, happiness, and money. And so that is. Okay. So how did those prosperity affirmations feel? Yeah, good. I think there's a little icon down at the bottom there somewhere, a reaction you can put in. You can put in a happy face, a thumbs up, a heart, a celebration, whatever you want to put in. Okay. But I do have dozens of affirmations on my website, and you're free. I will send you the link. You're free to go there and just download all of those. I also have them in audio that I have recorded, so I can send you a link to those as well, or a page where you can go get those. Okay. So a few other things that I want to go through is just some of the common questions that people do have about affirmations. If you do have a question, you want to put it in the chat or you want to raise your hand, that's fine too. I do have two screens here because of the number of people. So if I don't see your hand up, you might want to just put something in the chat. Okay. Okay.
Patricia,
So,
Bethany's
yeah.
hands up.
Who's this?
Bethany, Elizabeth.
Okay, Bethany. Yes.
Hi.
There you are. Okay.
I guess after all these years, I'm still a little confused about one thing.
Yes.
I know you order from the Cosmic Kitchen, you place your order and you leave it alone and you're chatting with the people at your table and you're not paying attention because it's already taken care of. We write affirmations every day to reinforce our beliefs and allowing and being open to having that affirmation and what we're affirming for. But you don't really go back day after day and say, hey, you know, I was asking for that really cool fur coat and it's not here yet. Did you forget me?
Yeah, that's because you're in Arizona and it's so hot. So okay. All right. That is an excellent question. And actually, it's one of the ones I wanted to address. So thank you. You know, one of the questions is, how often do I need to do my affirmations? If there's really an absolute sense of trust and deep belief that it's happening, once is enough. But for most of us in this physical world, that's not. And so I would recommend a few things. You can write them. But just be very aware of your feelings when you're writing them. What I would say is write out what it is that you want, like in a paragraph form or several sentences, and read those every day with feeling in front of the mirror. Okay. So you're reading them with feeling, and also say, I am trusting that this happens at exactly the right time for me. I'm trusting that this happens at exactly the right time. Okay. And I do know, I think it was Shakti Gawain suggests putting timelines on things, and I've never suggested that. And I know, sometimes your rent is due and there's not quite enough money in the account, and you're concerned about having enough money for the rent. So there's a time frame in there, right? But to me, it's important to, as much as you can, to let go of the actual timing of a particular thing, because then it's putting a limit on it that may or may not be effective in whatever it is that you're asking for. But I would say just find, go into a meditation at that deeper place of yourself. And this is why I think meditation is so important, or going out in nature, or just doing anything that really helps you feel connected to that greater source, to spirit, to universe, whatever you want to call it. And just when you're in that space, to be doing those affirmations, because they're not just in your head, they're in your heart, they're in your feelings. And so it's when you really get into your feelings and your heart that you can trust and let go and know that they're going to happen at the right time. And I'll just tell you a story. And this wasn't a critical thing, like, I needed to move or I needed the rent or anything, but I was at a workshop a long time ago, and I was already teaching some workshops. I was doing some work with Louise Hay, I think, at the time, but it was quite some time ago. And this woman named Barbara Scher, who I just looked up the other day because I wanted to remember her name, she had a book called Wishcraft. It's very much affirmations, but she had a little bit of a different take on it. And she asked everybody at the workshop to get up and be walking around the room and telling people something that you wanted. And I just wanted to say that I was a successful workshop leader. And what came out of my mouth, and really, I had not thought this, what came out of my mouth is, I'm an international workshop leader. And I actually was like looking around the room, like, where did this come from? I'd never thought about that. I hadn't been anywhere international to do a workshop at that point, but that's what came out of my mouth. And so I didn't do anything to make that happen. I did start working with Louise, of course. And what happened is that Hay House sent me to England and Canada and, some other places. But there was a 2-year gap between the time that I said that affirmation and I went anywhere internationally. And at the time, I just said, okay, I don't know when that'll happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. I'm not going to try to make it happen. But I was honing my skills as a workshop leader and just really getting into what it is that I was doing. And then when these opportunities came up, I recalled that affirmation and said, well, here it is, here it came about. And so it did take a period of time. And I'm going to give you a couple of other examples about just the period of time that things take sometimes. But the important thing is to just keep it in your heart and your feelings, and just know that things are unfolding, and the cosmic chef is bringing things together in ways that you can't even imagine, that will be greater than you imagine. And that's what's so exciting. I never imagined I was going to be doing all this international traveling, but I'll tell you a story before we finish about that too. So,
And Patricia,
yeah,
I have a little bit of a story about that I learned, from you and being in the trainings.
Yeah, go ahead.
So many times. Prosperity always an issue. And what I learned in the trainings is I grew up with a lot of fear around money. My mom handled the money, and she would cry every time the bills came. It was a monthly thing. And I had this fear that there was never going to be enough. It was always enough to just almost make it. And I started taking the trainings. I did my first kind of assistant, but I also did the 2-day workshop at the training in 2012. And I started working on it then. But Bethany, Elizabeth, like what you said, it was how do I commit to this where I'm committing to it, but it's not like I'm trying to force it or shove it or something. And it took a while to figure it out. And I did a couple of things. One is I started really affirming when I felt the fear. So if it was like, I knew that maybe say my car tags were going to be due, and that's that's something extra on top of our regular monthly payment. And I would feel that kind of, oh God, September's here. It's time for $400 for car tags. How are we going to come up with that? How is that? And, you'd start to hear that kind of fear on the, on the wheel run. And I would just say, there is more than enough money. I would just, in that moment of fear, push it down. Not push it down. That's not the right word. I would talk to it. There is more than enough money. I would affirm to that fear. And then I started doing the one where money shows up. There's money coming in. And I am not kidding. I started doing that, and without any concept of timeline. Again, it was a lot around just when I felt the fear, or if I was passing a mirror and I knew that that was something I was worried about, I would just be like, there's more than enough money. Money is coming in from unexpected sources. And we got a check in the mail for thousands of dollars out of the blue for a lawsuit that we had no idea we were part of for when we lost our house in 2009. It just showed up. We were so concerned. Like, we thought it was such a fake. We took it to our tax lady to make sure it was a real check. So I think, I really learned that the affirmations are really there to support you when you feel like you need them, and they're there every day. But then that support is really where it comes in, or at least it was for me. It was very supportive.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Thank you for that sharing, Christy. I appreciate that. Yeah. So another question that comes up is, how many orders can I do at the same time? Well, it's our own limitation in thought that says, oh, I can only do 10 because, 20 is too big. Well, you can do as many as you want. The cosmic chef and the cosmic kitchen is big enough to take all of them, but it's what you feel comfortable with. So you can work with the number of affirmations that you feel comfortable with. And I don't write them as much as I used to because I think them so often, but I do like to a few times a year just sit down and just free flowing in my journal, just write about, anything, everything in my life. And it sometimes surprises me even what comes out, but that's something to do, is to set aside some private, quiet time for it with yourself, getting centered, maybe playing some meditation music or whatever makes you feel connected, going out in nature with your journal, whatever it is that feels good to you, and just take some time to just start writing and say, okay, what's coming up for me? And just notice it. We get so involved with all the doing and all the thinking that we forget to just be. We need to just be, to be able to really connect with that inner wisdom. And then the miraculous things really do happen. They really do. So there's a couple of other things I want to go through, and I can answer some final questions as well, but a couple of other things that are, I feel like are really important. One is, and I have this section in my book that talks about this. Can affirmations help with some of the big problems that we have in the world today? And the answer is yes, because so often, if you watch the news, which isn't a good idea most of the time, but if you do watch the news, read some headlines, is to have a positive energy into some problem that's showing up. Like, there are ways to solve this. And, when the whole hole in the ozone thing happened a number of years ago, all these scientists got together and actually did the research and did whatever needed to be done. I don't know what they did actually, to be able to close up that hole in the ozone. Well, there are actually answers and solutions to all the stuff that's going on that is difficult that things are difficult for people. And there are actually lots of wonderful programs going on worldwide in many areas and many different things for people who are homeless or, need help. The disasters that we're seeing, climate change, happened recently. There are solutions to these things that we can put our energy into, instead of just saying, oh, that's too bad. That's really a big problem that we have here. And so what I'm constantly doing is saying, I know that there are creative minds working on these things right at this moment that are coming to fruition to help all of mankind. Okay, I know there are solutions. I know there are people working on those things. And they're not things I can do. In terms of some of the bigger issues, in terms of scientific stuff I'm talking about, I can do things on my own simple level, absolutely, to help be part of the solution of any of these problems. But to me, affirmations go beyond just our personal self, that we can really put the energy out into the world that's going to help it. So I'd really encourage you to think about that as well. And again, especially when you see problem issues coming up, that are out there in the world, that you affirm there are people who are working on this, and I can be a part of this in some way that I might be guided to do it. And that helps everybody make changes. I started transcendental meditation, like I said, many, many years ago. And Maharishi used to say that if only 1%, I think, of the population was meditating, that everything could shift very quickly. And so I like to continue to be a part of that 1% in terms of my meditation, and knowing that things are shifting and can shift. One other thing I would really like you to pay attention to after this meeting is over is to take a little time and just think back over your life, and what are the strands of things that have come together, the different aspects of things that have come together that have come to where you are now. And some of those things may be wonderful, some of them may be not, but there are things that come together that you may not even have been aware of. And it's something I've been thinking about quite a bit lately. So one of them was when I was growing up, we never went anywhere. The only place we ever went was actually to see my grandparents, and I loved my grandparents a lot, so don't get me wrong about that. But we never took vacations together. We never went and did fun things together, hardly ever. And I developed this passion for reading travel novels. So I read, all the travel novels I could, Thor Heyerdahl and the Easter Island and Hawaii, and all kinds of books that, had themes of travel. And so that was one strand in my life. And I did actually go to England when I was 19 years old, and on a work program, because I didn't have enough money to travel at the time. I was limited that way, I thought, to travel in Europe like my friends did with their backpacks. So I got a job through an agency and worked in England for a summer, and that was fantastic. I loved it. So that was my first, trip out of the US. And then the next summer, when I was 20, I had a terribly boring, horrible job, but it gave me time to think and read. And what came out of that was a real desire to be of service on the planet to people. And I made that commitment when I was 20, and I had no idea what that would look like. I had no idea what I was even thinking really at that time. It was a global kind of issue for me. But all the jobs that I had after that were all about being of service in some way. Like I was a social worker in one area and a rehab counselor, and then I helped on underserved health areas for people. But the real one that came about, of course, was when I met Louise Hay, started working with her, and then ended up with teaching her work and being worldwide. And so that, to me, when I got to that place, and that was a number of years later, when I really realized, this is how it's all coming together with what I've been affirming for so long. But along the way, there was another affirmation in there. And it was that I wanted to be working with my partner in love and life. And I would go to workshops where there were couples presenting, and I would start crying because I just wanted that so much. And my first husband and I had, in many ways, a very good relationship. We tried teaching together a couple of times, and it was just not very good. That's all I can say. And he knew it as well. But then who did I meet? A number of years later, but I met Rick, and many of you know him and us teaching together. So those three really powerful strands I really have become so aware of lately, of how they came together for the life that I am just enjoying and so joyful with and so grateful for right now. So it's something that I'm going to ask you to just reflect on after we get off of this meeting, whenever you have time, and just to say, okay, what are the real desires in my heart? And they may not all be coming together yet, but they will. And it's good for you to just take some time to recognize them and really, acknowledge them and be grateful for them. Okay. Now I'm seeing there's some new messages.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say there's a couple of new questions over there.
it's being recorded. Whatever. What else, Christy? I don't see anything else here.
Okay. Cassandra is asking for a way to identify when one of our persistent areas of trouble, such as love, is being blocked or affected by another area of our life where we hold negative beliefs in place.
Okay, so the first answer to that, the first part of the answer to that would be to take some time in meditation and ask for guidance about uncovering those things. Okay, so really taking some time. What were the beliefs when you were growing up? What are your beliefs now? What's actually blocking? But you can do some inner growth on that. You can also, there are, I'm not sure what your position is. I know you said you were in Mexico, I think, but we have Heal Your Life teachers in Mexico that you can contact and actually go through a workshop and ask for help with that. But here's another important thing that I think is often neglected in the area of affirmations in every area, and that is forgiveness. Forgiveness. And so, is there some area that you need to forgive? Are there people that you need to forgive in your background? What kind of forgiveness do you need to do for yourself, perhaps, and other people? But that's a really powerful process to be able to do the forgiveness of work around whatever has happened in these love relationships that you've had, either what they did, what I did, what you did, and we tend to have this tendency that we blame the other person a lot when we really need to look at our own aspect and what was our part in some of these things as well. So just to be aware of the negative thoughts, begin to change them, do some inner exploration, get in touch with a Heal Your Life coach or, a workshop that you can go to, or just actually affirm for guidance. I am guided to any resource and anything I need to uncover these beliefs and release them. Okay. Does that help?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Okay. I'm trying to get Kay on your phone. Okay. I'm looking at these chats here. Woo-hoo.
Sandy has a question about interim versus the end result.
And what's the question? You want to affirm for the interim results? That's okay too.
I noticed that when you were speaking of your experience about the training, you weren't concerned about the training. You did not decide in advance what it took to get to the end result. You went right to the end. I want to be an international trainer.
Right. Yeah.
You didn't say I need this training or that training or.
No.
Although it took 2 years.
Yeah. Well, and in the meantime, though, I was going to workshops, I was leading workshops and honing my skills. But that affirmation just popped out of my mouth. It wasn't something I consciously sat down and wrote. Okay. And also, even the idea of the training hadn't come to me. Louise Hay was on the Oprah show and got really busy with Hay House. And so she asked myself and a few others that had been working with her on her week-long programs if we would lead her 2-day workshop, which she didn't have time to lead anymore. And so, of course, we said yes. That was really exciting. I'd never thought of a training program, but when I was in England, and there are a number of you who are on this meeting tonight that are from England and the UK and Ireland, and I did the 2-day workshop over there a few times, and students came to me and said, this has changed our lives over and above the book, which we love. Can you ask Louise for a training program? So sometimes things, like I said, that was something bigger than I had even thought about. Mine was international workshop leader. I didn't think of training. And I had actually done some work in training at a whole different level for a company at one point. So I went back, came back to the US. I called Louise and I said, Louise, people want a training. And she said, oh, okay. We'll get together and plan it. So that's what we did. And so, that I hope answers that question. But you could also do some affirmations for interim things. But, what's the end result that you want? What's the end result? Because when you affirm for the end result, you're going to be guided on those interim steps. You'll be guided along. Yeah. And I will ask the Heal Your Life teachers that are on here, and I know some of you are actually not on video right now, but I'll just ask those of you who are, was that one of the best weeks of your life, the Heal Your Life training? Yep. Jackie's got 2 thumbs up. Okay. Okay. Great. Because I know there's some people on here that are either signed up or thinking about it. So, they want to feel confident that they really will have a wonderful experience going to the training. And then all of a sudden also leading workshops afterwards. There's nothing more satisfying than guiding people through their transformation. Am I also correct with that, people? Yeah. Okay. It's just such an amazing feeling that you're guiding people. And I love what Louise, who was so humble about many things. And she said, people would come up to her when she was doing book signings and workshops and lines and stuff and say, "Oh, Louise, you healed my life." And she would also say, "No, dear, you healed your life. You just took the tools I gave you to use." And so we don't claim that we're healers, although it's Heal Your Life is the title, but we are guides in helping people uncover what they need to uncover to change, and then using all the different techniques, affirmations, mirror work, inner child work, etc., to make those changes. And that's what's so powerful, is just being a guide and just being a witness to people's transformation. It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Okay. Are there any closing questions or comments that you would like to make? I thank you all. I'm so grateful for all of you showing up and deciding that you wanted to come on this. And we're going to, again, I will have a recording and stuff, but I'm just thrilled. We've got quite a few people on, and quite a few more had signed up that couldn't get on for one reason or another. But this was really thrilling. And I'm so pleased that you were all here. So grateful to you. And be grateful to yourself. Hey, you took the time. You took the step. You made a decision that you were going to be here today. So that's a great thing to just acknowledge yourself for, right? Yeah. Okay. Mark, absolutely. Oh dear. Mark, I think you are like anchoring the masculine energy here today. We do. Oh dear. We do have about 10% men in the Heal Your Life trainings, but it's still very much a female and feminine community for us, because women in general are just more committed and connected with their feelings and willing to come to the training. So tell your friends. I am going to say too, I'll send you a link so you can get to my website and get all the affirmations that if you want to. Anything else? A few other links that I'll be sending you. Oh, I know I have some videos on the prosperity affirmations that I think you'll like, and one on the health one as well. Okay. So I'm just going to close with the affirmations that are in my journal for September. So if you would like to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. And these are the September affirmations in Ordering from the Cosmic Kitchen journal, which was actually sent out to all of you. And a lot of this one is if. If there is a health concern, I am guided to anyone or any help I need for my complete health and well-being. Every resource I need for my healing on any level comes to me easily and quickly. If there is a spiritual need, divine assistance is available for me as soon as I ask. When there is a lack of harmony in a relationship, I have only to have the intention for emotional healing, and it is set in motion. I am willing to forgive myself and others. If there is a financial need, I trust the abundance of spirit to provide for all I need. The entire universe is ready to assist me in my growth. I open my mind to that help and welcome it with gratitude. And so it is. And so it is. So again, thank you all for being on this meeting. I appreciate and love you all. And I wish you well with your affirmations. And you can actually, if you want to write to me and ask a question afterwards that wasn't answered, that would be fine too. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are. Some of you are in the US, some of you are in the UK or Ireland, so it's getting later there. But take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Patricia.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Such a wonderful workshop.
Thanks. Thank you. Oh, there's Daniel was on here too. I didn't see that. Okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Patricia. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.